Greetings YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is a reading vlog. This is my third week of October reading vlog. Hopefully I'll finish a bingo for Booktrovert bingo this week, fingers crossed. So it is October 15th. In my last vlog I said I was carrying over 2 books into this week and I have updates on both those books. So let's start with Tampa. Tampa is a book written by Alyssa Nutting. It is inspired by Lolita, but I also learned last night that it is inspired by a real life case that happened in Florida. And it is a book about a teacher who is a pedophile. Like, she got the job specifically to perpetrate crimes against young boys. So I DNF'd it. Let's just do that first. There were parts of it that were so vile, like that I was physically repulsed, that I enjoyed, and then there was some of it that like just had me like angry that I was reading the book. I have talked about I like some dark shit. I have been known to like dark and disturbing stuff. So this seemed like a book that would be right up my alley. And you know, some of the stuff that repulsed me in a way that I enjoyed, you know, that's like what I'm looking for in a horror book, is something that like really grosses me out or something that like makes me feel something. But then it went, like, it felt very cartoonish in some ways. Like, there just didn't feel like there was any complexity or like nuance or layers to the character of Celeste, who is the teacher. I mean, like, basically it was just like, I want to fuck 14-year-old boys, and then like her being disturbingly sexual about every boy that she comes in contact with. And like, when you first meet Humbert and Lolita, he also goes off on this like flowery rant about how girls between the ages of 11 and 15 are the most like beautiful creatures, and they're the nymphets, and not every girl between that age is a nymphette, but nymphets are the most divine, yada yada yada. And it like creates a character, it creates nuance, it like fills in the story. And like, I didn't even love Lolita. Like, it was not my favorite book, but it was definitely complex and layered, and so much so that people read it and think it's a love story. So like, I was expecting complexity. My Dark Vanessa is coming from the perspective of a victim of a pedophile, but there are layers, there's complexity, there's like depth and nuance, and like I just didn't feel like I was getting that. Like, it basically was just like, I wanna fuck, and like I get that that is like also part of the thing, but like, I don't know, it just like, I could not do it. It took me 3 days to read not even 20 pages. And then at some point I just got to this part in like the second chapter where she like gets a like thank you card from the class, and she rips off the name of the student she's like into and fingers herself with it, like stuffs it inside her. And I was just like, nope, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. That is like truly heinous, truly ridiculous. I just like, it just felt so cartoonish. It just felt so like over the top and like cheesy in such a bad way. Like, I wanted it to feel more realistic, and it did not feel more realistic. And when I read some of the reviews on Goodreads after I decided to DNF it, they talked about like how erotic it gets, and like, I don't know. I didn't need that. I really truly did not. And then I read the plot description, and like, it goes off the rails. And it's like such a short book. My Kindle was telling me it was 153 pages, and like so much stuff happens in the book. When I read the description, I was just like, I don't think I would have been satisfied with any of it. So I DNF'd it. Okay, the other book I brought over this week was Catherine House, and I've been working on this for a couple days. I read like half of it in the first 24 hours that I had it, or that I had started it. I've had it for a while. And then the back half took a little bit longer. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really actually had quite a good time reading this. I actually meant to read some reviews before I started recording this, but I forgot. Because it actually has like a very low rating for Goodreads. It's a 3.11, which is pretty low by Goodreads standards. So I was curious to see like what people were not liking about this, because I found it really easy to read. I found it like, I don't know, I felt like I was just kind of floating through the book in a good way, like, because this book is very like, what is going on? And like, there's not anything super crazy happening necessarily. There are definitely some weird and odd things going on at times, but like, it's not super dramatic or intense, anything like that. It's just like a, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. You're just like floating through it and you're just like, it's weird, what's going on? What's this school about? So it is about, it mainly follows Inez as she enters Catherine House. I was expecting this to be an all-girls school, and I was expecting it to be a high school, but it's not. It is a college, and it's co-ed. And this school is completely cut off from friends, family, the outside world, and they are expected to devote themselves to this school for 3 years. They do not leave for breaks, holidays, nothing like that. They work through the summer, so they graduate in 3 years instead of 4 years. And like, it seems like kind of a normal college, like I think she's like getting her degree in like art history or something in those lines, but there's this thing called new materials, and there's like this fantastical plasma element, and a lot of the weirdness comes from like, what is plasma, what is going on, what is this kind of like vaguely culty aspect to it, and you just kind of float through that, and I just like really had a good time. I liked Inez, I liked the vibe. I honestly kind of liked the chilled out, like not super intense nature, but like just interesting enough that I'm like, what's going on here? There was a little section kind of near the end, in like the last 30 pages, where there's like kind of like a villain explanation that maybe I could have done without, or kind of like pared down. I didn't really want or need that detail because I kind of liked the ambiguous nature of just the weird school. Like, I liked that. But I mean, it wasn't anything bad. And it's not like that's what knocked it down from a 5-star. Like, the whole time it just felt like a 4-star read. Like, I was just enjoying myself. It wasn't anything that like blew me out of the water. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read. But it was really good. Like, I just had a good time reading it. And, you know, it kind of hit that spooky spot. Not quite, but there's definitely some fall, autumnal, winter vibes that were really nice. But it goes through the course of 3 years. So there's like a lot of season changes that are happening throughout it. But yeah, it was good. I really had a good time. I'm curious. I'll have to go read the Goodreads reviews when I finish this, because I'm just curious why people hate it. Maybe because it is so ambiguous and they actually wanted more answers, or they wanted the like tension to be ratcheted up. But like, I really don't feel like it gets much more intense as the book goes. Like, it kind of stays the same level of intrigue, at least it did for me. And I kind of liked it, to be quite honest. I kind of liked it. And even at the end, there's like, something that happens that like normally you would expect to ratchet up the tension in a book, where you're like on the edge of your seat and you're like, is it gonna happen? Is this person gonna do this thing? And even that, the way that was handled, like it wasn't very tense. You're just like reading it and you're like, okay, this is what's happening. And you're like, you're kind of like, I wonder what's gonna happen, but you're not like biting your nails, like on the edge of your seat, like racked with anxiety about what's gonna happen. You're just like along for the ride. So I don't know, I enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it. I'm glad I read it. Not quite the spooky, scary horror book that I am in the mood for, but like it hit the spot. You know, it was a nice read for October. I don't really know who this book would be for. It kind of reminded me of My Year of Rest and Relaxation somehow. The character of Inez spends a lot of time just kind of like drinking and sleeping and like skipping classes and stuff. And some of her vibe just kind of reminded me of the main character in My Year of My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I was struggling. Just in that, like, you're feeling so untethered to reality. That whole vibe. I don't know. I apparently like that untethered from reality, floating through life vibe in a book, I guess. Anyways, I've rambled about these two books long enough. I am not reading anything right now. Those were the two books that I was reading, and I have finished or dispensed with them. So I'll probably start The Weight of Blood tomorrow. All right, I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Hello, long time no see. It is October 19th, and I have finished The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I was talking about how I was looking forward to reading this. This is a YA Carrie retelling that has a racial element added to it. The Carrie character is actually named Maddie. She is a light-skinned, more or less white-passing Black girl. Her father is white, who has raised her to fit into the white world of this town that is still very racist in the South. This town has had a Black prom and a white prom since the end of segregation, and some racist events occur that lead to them attempting to merge the two proms into one prom. And lots of stuff happens. I will say, I should have known better than buying a YA book. I'm gonna give it 3 stars, even though it honestly felt more like a 2 to me, but I'm gonna give it 3 because a lot of what bothered me about this book, I think, just has to do with it being YA. I was really excited about a Carrie retelling with this racial element to it. I feel like it had a lot of potential, but it just doesn't work in YA for me. I was hoping that would be enough to get over the hurdles of YA for me, particularly as a reader, and it just wasn't. This was very YA. There was like a big like romance plot line in there that I just absolutely hated reading. And it just reads like a YA book. I don't know how else to explain it. It just does. Everything feels very broad, and I was wanting more complexity and nuance. And just the way it was handled just left me, I don't know, wanting more. But not, it's funny because I also feel like it's too long. Carrie is actually quite short, and this is 400 pages long. It just felt like too much. I wanted more complexity, and less of like hearing about Jules. Well, I kind of got why we were hearing from Jules, but less hearing from Wendy and Kenny. And like, there was just so much like jumping around in perspective. Like, it's not like from their perspectives, but it's like following them. Like, Maddie felt like a secondary character almost in this until the very end when shit starts going crazy. I can't exactly remember. It's been a very long time since I've read the book Carrie, so I can't remember if that was also like multiple perspectives, like following multiple people or not, but I don't feel like it was. And that really bothered me in this. I wanted to spend more time with Maddie. I feel like just a lot of the issues I had with it are just because it's YA. Of course it's broad, because teenagers are not dumb, but like, you're not going to get into all the nitty gritty things of like race relations in a book geared towards teenagers. You want the point to get across as easily and quickly as possible. It just wasn't what I was looking for, and you know, that's my bad by picking up a YA book. It just is. That's my fault. I will say one thing I did actually really like about this was it did keep the like clips and things. So if you've read Carrie, you know there are like inserts from books, and there are like interviews, and there is like media within the story of Carrie talking about stuff like telekinesis and what happened, and things like that. They kept that, Tiffany D. Jackson kept that in this book, including there was like a podcast about Maddie, and there was clips from that podcast in this, and I really like that. I'm really glad they kept that element. I don't know why I keep saying they, it's her book. She kept that element in this, and I thought the podcast parts were excellent. I really, I thought that was really well done. It's also been, like I said, a very long time since I've read Carrie, so I can't remember exactly what happens at the end of it, because I think it is quite different from the movie. So I don't remember quite how it ends to compare to how she chose to end The Weight of Blood. So I can't really comment on that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I'll give it 3 stars on Goodreads just because it feels bad to give it 2. But yeah, that is my thoughts and feelings on the book. I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Hello, it is October 20th, and I'm gonna have to apologize that this is like the most underwhelming vlog. This whole month has just been incredibly underwhelming with books that I have read. Granted, this book I'm about to talk about I enjoyed, I just am not gonna have a ton to say about. So I just finished listening to How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them by Jason Stanley. I picked this up because it was mentioned, well, the author was interviewed in a episode of American Hysteria, and they talked about fascism, and I was like, well, that book sounds interesting. So I picked it up. It's a pretty short book, and it was good. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like I learned a little bit more of the specifics of like what fascism actually is. It spends a lot of time talking about in groups and out groups, us versus them, and how fascists use that to their advantage. And so that like us versus them criteria, that's not the word I'm looking for, but like framework is what's used to talk about other more like pressing topics. So they talk about how fascists will target LGBT people. They talk about, or the author talks about how they will use the us versus them narrative to talk about immigrants or religious groups, minorities, things like that, and how they use that to their advantage to gain power, things like that. And it uses a lot of real world examples. This author talks about stuff happening in America. This was published while Donald Trump was president. I forgot to check the copyright. But also uses examples from Europe and things like that. So, you know, from Nazi Germany, but also talks about Hungary and I don't know, there were Turkey maybe, question mark? I don't know. There are some other examples in there that he uses throughout the book to talk about how fascists use these outgroups as scapegoats. And you know, it was good. I feel like I learned stuff. It was only 6 hours long. And that's really all I have to say about it. If you're interested in learning about fascism, I would recommend picking it up, especially if you're not like super like political theory type person. I think this will work for you. It's definitely written for a more general audience. But yeah, that is all I have to say about that. I'm hoping I can finish one more book this week. I'm working on 2 things right now. I'm working on a graphic novel, and that's what I hope I'll finish by tomorrow. And then I'm working on an ebook, a horror book, which is not bad, but it is a little slow, and I didn't get a whole lot of it read because I was really pushing to read The Weight of Blood because I just did not want to be reading it forever. I knew if I put The Weight of Blood down, I would never pick it back up. I spent every bit of reading time working on The Weight of Blood over the last couple days, so I'm not very far into the house next door. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Bye. Hello, we meet again. It is the same day. I was not exactly expecting to finish this graphic novel today, but I did because I had hockey, so I was reading. So I finished The Low, Low Woods by Carmen Marie Machado and Danny. This is a graphic novel that I did not know existed. Again, kind of like how I didn't know that Sarah Gailey had written a graphic novel / comic. I didn't realize that Carmen Marie Machado had written one either until I was listening to another episode of American Hysteria, where it was mentioned that she had written The Low, Low Woods. I gave this 4 stars. I actually quite liked it. There were some really disturbing visuals at points. It takes place in a rural coal mining town in Pennsylvania. And it is about 2 girls named Elle and V. They're like best friends, and there's like weird stuff that happened in this town. There is a story of I want to say that's also in Pennsylvania, a town that's like on fire underground, a former mining town, and that's a similar thing that's happening in this town. It's called, what is it called? Shudder to Think is the town name. And there is a fire burning underground. There's some stuff going on with women who are like waking up in random places and having no memory of what happened. And it kind of opens up with Elle and V waking up like in a movie theater but not remembering the movie. And it's like dealing with this memory loss. It's dealing with some weird creatures in the woods. It's interesting. Anyways, I really liked it. I thought the art was just absolutely wonderful. I'm glad I picked it up. Not quite 5 stars, but I think that's to be expected. Horror graphic novels are very rarely 5 stars for me. In general, I don't seem to actually like them that much. But I feel like the only 5-star graphic novel in the horror genre I have read is, was it Into the Woods, The Dark Woods? Something also woods related, but that was a collection of short stories. And they had like a fairy tale quality to them, but they were very grim and weird. Is by, I want to say Alice Carroll, but I don't think that's right. But Carroll is the last name of the the author of that graphic novel that I read last Halloween because I was looking for a Halloween ebook. Anyways, goodness gracious, I'm getting very off track. This was fine. It was good. I enjoyed it. You know, I can't really get too into like the details that I really did like, just because I don't want to spoil anything. If you pick this up, I would recommend it. There is definitely some interesting things going on in this, and it's not that long. It's like 170 some odd pages. It's 6 issues, so it's not super long. Yeah, I would recommend it. Anyways, so that's book 4 for the week, and probably the last one because I can't imagine I'm going to read all 300 some odd pages of The House Next Door by tomorrow, but I will check in tomorrow with the stats and things like that. All right, bye. Greetings. It is October 21st. And it is time to end the vlog. It is Friday. I'm about 20% into The House Next Door by Anne Riversedon. I think, I don't know what her name is. I've been working on this very slowly. It definitely has like a kind of Southern Gothic sort of deal going on, which I'm enjoying, but it is slow. But I should be able to finish it next week. All right, so let's just do a little recap of the books that I have read this week. I read 4 books this week. I read Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, which I gave 4 stars. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson, I gave 3 stars on Goodreads, but it was more like a 2 for me in enjoyment. How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us by Jason Stanley, 4 stars. The Low, Low Woods by Carmen Marie Machado and Danny, which I gave 4 stars. So it was a better, in theory, reading week, but I am still just feeling bogged down. Obviously, The Weight of Blood was my least favorite read of the week. And I'm not sure if I like The Low, Low Woods or Catherine House more. They were probably about the same level of interest for me. I'm hoping next week will be a better reading week. I'm not really sure just what my deal is. I think part of it is I have been actually really busy this month. So despite still reading 4 books a week, reading has been more on the back burner, which has kind of led me to just read stuff I'm not super invested in, just because it's honestly kind of easier to read that sometimes, where you're not trying to remember all the things in the book that you're liking to read, if that makes sense. It's just been a weird month of lots of change. I started a new group thing that's taking up time on Mondays. The weather is changing, it's getting cold, so motivation is also just like harder to come by for me. So there's just like a lot of weird things going on, on top of just like, it has been an oddly busy month of like me leaving the house multiple times a week and like doing things. So yeah, I think that's just contributing to this in the funkness that I am experiencing. I'm hoping next week will be better. Obviously it's getting better. There's 3 4-star reads this week, so like things are getting better. I just kind of have to get back into my groove. I'm sure hockey will also help with that. Yeah, so there's that. I did want to just show my Booktrovert bingo. I did not get a bingo this week, but I have 2 ones that are 1 book away. So hopefully next week I'll actually get a bingo. This has just been a little bit of fun, just keep track of things, but I'm not like gearing my reading towards actually getting bingos. It's just a little bit of fun. I will also say before I go, next week's video schedule will be a little weird just because the last day of the month falls on the day I usually post a video for the week. So I will still technically be vlogging on Monday, and that is the day I also record my wrap up, and I try to have my wrap up posted on the 1st. So the goal, the plan is to have my wrap up on Tuesday, and that will be the video for the week, and then the last vlog of October should be that next week of November, the first full week of November. So there is that. I just wanted to give you a little heads up that there will not be a video on Monday, but there should be one Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. But my wrap-ups are really short typically, so they don't typically take a lot of editing, since I do this whole weekly vlog deal. Anyways, I will see y'all with the wrap-up. Bye! Hello, it's just a quick postscript. Hopefully Gilmore Girls is not too loud. I am making a lunch. I just wanted to add, it is still the 21st, but I'm DNFing House Next Door by Anne Rivers Siddons. I could not deal with the repetitive word choice any longer. I was so intrigued by the plot, but I could not do the writing. The writing wasn't even bad. It was just the constant use of the word dimpling. I couldn't do it anymore. All right, bye.